Ladies and gentlemen, when you wake up and the silence in the room echoes louder than any voice ever could, when the mirror shows a version of yourself you hardly recognize, tired eyes, heavy heart, a soul bruised by things too complex to explain, this is what it feels like to be broken. But let me be clear, broken does not mean worthless. Broken does not mean beyond repair. Broken does not mean you are unlovable or that your story ends here. In fact, this may be where your story truly begins. We live in a world that celebrates strength, perfection, and constant productivity. But the truth is, our deepest strength is forged in our most fragile moments. The cracks. That's where the light gets in. Your pain, your heartbreak, your failures. They are not signs that you are defective. They are proof that you have lived and loved and risked. There's a quiet but powerful lie many of us carry, often without realizing it, the belief that being broken means being deficient. That if we are not whole, not smiling, not excelling, something is wrong with us. This lie creeps in during our most tender moments, whispering that our pain makes us weak, our sadness makes us a burden, our fear makes us unworthy. It tells us we are not enough because we are not perfect. And yet, nothing could be further from the truth. Being broken is not the absence of value. It's a reflection of having lived fully, sometimes painfully, but always deeply. To feel broken is to be human. We all carry wounds. Some are visible, many are not. Trauma, heartbreak, rejection, illness, failure, these moments leave behind fractures in our sense of self, and we begin to mistake those fractures for permanent damage. But being broken doesn't mean you are beyond repair. It doesn't mean you are less than. In fact, it's often in these very moments when everything has fallen apart that we begin to learn who we are underneath the layers we've constructed. The persona we wear for the world doesn't survive the breaking. What's left is real, raw, honest. And that right there is your power. We live in a culture that idolizes perfection and edits out the mess. We are surrounded by highlight reels on social media, in conversations, in how people present their lives. Rarely do we see the trembling hands behind the success, the tears behind the smile, the loneliness behind the applause. So when we feel broken, we assume we're alone. We compare our behind the scenes to everyone else's polished front stage and wonder what's wrong with us. But what if brokenness wasn't the exception, but the norm? What if we stopped pretending and started recognizing that to be broken sometimes is part of being alive? It takes extraordinary courage to acknowledge your brokenness in a world that demands constant composure. But the moment you stop hiding your pain is the moment you take your power back. It's not about falling apart for attention or drowning in despair. It's about letting your heart be seen, even when it's fragile. It's saying, this is where I am right now. I don't have it all together. And that's okay. That kind of authenticity creates connection. It invites others to exhale, to stop pretending, to show up fully. Brokenness, when embraced without shame, becomes a bridge instead of a barrier. Many of us try to fix our brokenness as quickly as possible. We numb, we distract, we hustle for worthiness, trying to glue ourselves back together in secret. But the truth is, the most meaningful growth often happens not despite the breaking, but because of it. Your brokenness holds wisdom. It tells you what mattered, what hurt, what was lost, and if you listen closely, what still longs to be found. It's not something to rush through or cover up. It's something to explore gently, with compassion. The cracks in your soul are not signs of weakness. They are spaces where healing wants to enter. There is no moral failure in being broken. There's no shame in carrying pain. If anything, the world needs more people who have touched their own suffering and can hold space for others. Your brokenness might be the very thing that equips you to love more deeply, to lead with empathy, to create with meaning. What you have endured and are still enduring does not make you lesser. It makes you layered, it makes you real. And it gives you access to a deeper kind of strength, one rooted not in denial or perfection, but in honesty, tenderness, and radical self-compassion. We've been taught, often from an early age, that strength means having it all together. That to be strong is to be stoic, composed, in control. We're told not to cry in public, not to let them see you struggle, not to reveal too much. And so we armor up. We learn to hide our fears behind sarcasm, our sadness behind smiles, and our uncertainty behind overachievement. Vulnerability then becomes the enemy, something to avoid, to outgrow, to eliminate. But here's the truth that most of us discover only through experience: vulnerability is not weakness. It is strength in its most honest form. Vulnerability is choosing to show up even when there's no guarantee of the outcome. It's telling someone you love them first. It's admitting you're scared. It's asking for help when your voice shakes. It's walking into a room where you're not sure you'll belong and doing it anyway. Vulnerability is courage, not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of it. It's standing in the storm of self-doubt and still saying, "This is who I am." There is nothing soft or small about that. It is one of the bravest things a person can do. One of the greatest lies we tell ourselves is that if we can just protect our hearts, we won't get hurt. But the truth is, numbing pain also numbs joy. Avoiding rejection also shuts down connection. When we shield ourselves from vulnerability, we don't just miss out on discomfort. We miss out on everything beautiful that vulnerability makes possible: intimacy, authenticity, deep human bonds. We are wired for connection, and connection requires us to be seen, truly seen, not the curated version, not the polished self, the real one with all the fears, flaws, longings, and hope. Vulnerability makes that possible. It's tempting to believe that we have to earn the right to be vulnerable, that we have to become perfect or successful or enlightened enough first. But that's not how it works. Vulnerability is not the reward at the end of healing. It's the door through which healing begins. It's the first step, not the last. And yes, being vulnerable can be terrifying, because when you open your heart, you're also risking heartbreak. When you tell the truth, you risk being misunderstood. When you reach out, you risk being rejected. But these are the risks required for a meaningful life. Playing it safe might protect you from pain, but it will also starve you of joy. Many of us mistake self-sufficiency for strength. We pride ourselves on not needing anyone, on doing it all alone. But real strength is knowing when you can't carry it all anymore and daring to say, "I need help." Vulnerability opens the door to support, to love, to comfort. It lets others in, not to fix you, but to walk with you. And that togetherness is powerful. Vulnerability doesn't diminish your value. It amplifies your humanity. It allows people to see not just what you do, but who you are. And it's in that space between honesty and acceptance that true belonging is born. There is no shame in vulnerability. There is only the fear of being misunderstood or unloved once the mask is off. But the people who matter, they don't need the mask. They don't need the polished version. They're looking for you, the messy, honest, evolving, human you. And the more you live in that truth, the stronger you become. Not in the brittle, performative way the world often rewards, but in the quiet, grounded way that sustains real life. Vulnerability is not a flaw to overcome. It's the foundation upon which trust, resilience, and authentic strength are built. Shame is one of the most powerful and destructive emotions we experience as human beings. It tells us not just that we made a mistake, but that we are the mistake. Shame doesn't whisper, it hisses. It says, you're not good enough. You're a failure. You're broken beyond repair. And its most dangerous tactic, isolation. Shame convinces you to keep quiet, to withdraw, to bury the truth, and that silence becomes its oxygen. Shame cannot survive exposure. It thrives when we hide. The silence shame demands is not peaceful. It's paralyzing. You carry the weight of what you feel you cannot say. You walk around smiling, performing, functioning, while inside there's a quiet storm. The shame might be about something that happened years ago or just yesterday. It might be about your body, your past, your family, your mental health, your sexuality, your parenting, your grief. Whatever it is, shame tells you it's too much, too ugly, too unacceptable to name out loud. So you tuck it away, you pretend you're fine, but you're not. You're alone in your pain, and that loneliness compounds it. The antidote to shame is not perfection. It's not productivity. It's not proving yourself. The antidote is voice. It's speaking the truth of your experience, even when your voice trembles. When we name our shame, we begin to loosen its grip. We reclaim our stories. We connect with others who nod and say, "Me too." That's the moment shame starts to lose its power, not because the experience itself disappears, but because we are no longer carrying it in the dark. Telling the truth, even to one trusted person, is a revolutionary act. It breaks the silence. It invites empathy. And empathy kills shame on contact. But telling the truth doesn't always come easily, especially when we've been conditioned to associate vulnerability with weakness or danger. For some, speaking up may have led to judgment, punishment, or betrayal in the past. So the silence around shame isn't just emotional, it's protective. It was learned as a survival strategy. That's why we have to approach shame gently, not with force, but with compassion. It begins with simply acknowledging, there is something I've been holding in. You don't have to tell the whole world, but you do have to stop pretending it doesn't exist, because unspoken shame only festers. It never fades. What often surprises people is how universal shame is. Everyone carries some form of it. No one is immune, not the successful, not the spiritual, not the seemingly fearless. And yet we continue to believe that we alone are damaged, unworthy, or too much to handle. That belief is exactly what shame wants: isolation. It feeds on comparison and disconnection. But when we begin to share our stories, when we risk being seen, we discover we are not alone at all. In fact, the very thing we thought would make people turn away is often the thing that draws them closer. The silence around shame doesn't just harm individuals, it shapes families, communities, and entire cultures. It's why people suffer in silence with depression. It's why survivors of abuse don't speak up. It's why failure becomes something to hide instead of something to learn from. We create environments where honesty feels dangerous and then wonder why people are so afraid to be real. But if we want to build lives that are truly whole, we have to change that. We must make space for truth. We must listen with compassion. And we must speak, even when it's hard, because when we bring shame into the light, we begin to heal not just ourselves, but each other. We often imagine healing as a straight road, a clean, forward, moving journey from pain to peace, from brokenness to wholeness. We hope that once we've named the hurt, cried the tears, gone to therapy, or forgiven someone, the hard part will be over. And when it's not, when the grief resurfaces, when the anxiety returns, when we find ourselves in familiar pain again, we assume something has gone wrong. But the truth is, healing doesn't unfold in a straight line. It wins, it loops, it stalls, and sometimes it even circles back. And that doesn't mean we're failing. It means we're human. There's this idea in our culture that progress should always be measurable, linear, and efficient. But emotional healing doesn't follow deadlines. It doesn't care about your schedule or your plans. You might feel strong one week and shattered the next. You might go months feeling stable, only to be triggered by a memory, a song, a smell, or a seemingly small comment. That doesn't erase the progress you've made. It doesn't mean you're back at square one. It means that healing is layered, and sometimes we're invited to revisit deeper parts of our wounds with new strength, new tools, and new understanding. Sometimes healing looks like crying in the middle of the night for reasons you can't explain. Sometimes it looks like laughing again, even though you're not sure you're ready. Sometimes it looks like setting a boundary that leaves you feeling guilty or forgiving someone even when you're still angry. Healing isn't neat. It's messy and contradictory. It's both and not either, or you can be grateful and grieving. You can feel strong and scared. You can be healing and hurting at the same time. And all of it counts. All of it matters. Every part of the process is valid, even the parts that don't make sense yet. One of the most important things we can give ourselves is permission to not be done. We are not machines moving from one upgrade to the next. We are stories unfolding, and sometimes the hardest parts of the narrative need to be revisited before we can move forward. It's okay if you need more time. It's okay if you thought you were over it and now realize you're not. It's okay if today feels heavy, even after weeks of feeling light. There is no final destination where you're suddenly whole and never feel pain again. Healing is a practice, not a finish line. And here's something else we rarely say out loud. Sometimes healing hurts more than the original wound. Because to truly heal, we have to feel. We have to sit with what we've tried to outrun. We have to grieve what we lost, name what we needed, but never received, forgive ourselves for the ways we coped. That kind of honesty is not easy. It's brave, it's work, but it's also how we move from surviving to truly living. Healing asks us to stop pretending and start tending to ourselves, our past, our needs, and our future. It is sacred work, even when it's slow. If you are healing and it feels like you're going in circles, take heart. You are not broken and you are not behind. You are learning to live with your pain instead of being ruled by it. You are honoring your story instead of denying it. You are returning to yourself piece by piece at the pace your soul can manage. And that is enough. You do not have to be healed to be whole. You do not have to be finished to be worthy. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to hide. When we're in pain, our natural instinct is often to retreat, to pull away, to isolate, to disappear into our own inner world where no one can see the mess we're carrying. It can feel safer that way, less risky, less vulnerable, less complicated. But while solitude may give us space to breathe, prolonged disconnection suffocates the soul. We are wired for connection. It's not a bonus or a luxury. It's a fundamental human need, especially when we feel broken. Reaching for connection isn't a weakness. It's survival. It's the thread that keeps us tethered to hope. There's something profoundly healing about being seen, not in a polished, filtered, performative way, but truly seen. When someone looks at you and doesn't flinch, when they say, "Me too," or "You're not alone," something shifts inside you. That unbearable weight you've been dragging around gets just a little lighter. Connection doesn't always offer solutions. Sometimes it offers something even more important: presence. Just knowing that someone is willing to sit beside your pain without rushing to fix or judge it can be the beginning of healing. Their presence becomes proof that you're not too much, not too broken, not too far gone. Too often, we believe we must first get ourselves together before we can connect with others. We don't want to be a burden or bring people down, but this belief only deepens our disconnection. The truth is, people don't connect with your perfection. They connect with your honesty. The masks we wear may protect us from rejection, but they also keep us from intimacy. And intimacy is not just romantic, it's human. It's found in late night phone calls, in shared silence, in someone showing up at your door when you didn't ask them to. These moments, these small acts of being with one another, are what keep us alive in the deepest sense. One of the hardest lessons we learn in healing is that we were never meant to do it alone. Independence is praised, but interdependence is where real strength lives. We need people, not just in the good times, but in the messy, raw, uncomfortable middle spaces where we don't know what we're doing or how we'll get through. We need friends who will listen without needing to fix. Family who learns to sit in the unknown with us. Communities that hold space for complexity. And if we don't have those people yet, we need to believe we're worthy of finding them. Because we are. Connection also invites us to remember our shared humanity. When we are hurting, shame tells us we are the only ones, that no one else could possibly understand. But when we risk sharing our story, even a small part of it, we often find that others carry similar wounds. Maybe not the same circumstances, but the same ache, the same fear, the same longing. And in that shared space, healing begins. We start to realize that we are not broken beyond repair. We are part of something bigger than our pain. We are not alone. So if you are in a season where everything feels fractured and connection feels like the hardest thing to reach for, start small. Text someone, sit with a friend, let someone bring you soup. Allow yourself to be known, even a little. Let someone remind you that you still matter, that your pain is valid, that your presence is wanted. Connection doesn't solve everything, but it softens the edges. It reminds us of who we are when we've forgotten. And in a world that constantly tells us to be strong and self-sufficient, choosing connection might just be the bravest thing you can do. Somewhere along the way, we internalize the idea that being whole meant being unbroken. That to be whole is to be untouched by trauma, unscarred by failure, unshaken by grief. We chase this illusion of perfection, of a clean, polished version of ourselves that doesn't flinch, doesn't stumble, doesn't feel too deeply. And when life inevitably cracks us open, we think we've lost our worth. But the truth is, wholeness was never about being untouched. It was never about being flawless. Wholeness includes every scar, every mistake, every chapter we wanted to skip. It includes the cracks, and sometimes the cracks are where the light gets in. We are not puzzles with missing pieces. We are mosaics formed by the jagged edges of our lived experiences. The heartbreaks, the setbacks, the silent battles, the things we thought would break us for good, those are not signs of failure. They are part of the landscape of who we've become. And if you look closely, they add texture, depth, and beauty. Wholeness is not about erasing what happened to us. It's about integrating it, allowing those parts of our story to have a seat at the table, not to dominate our lives, but to inform our strength and deepen our compassion. There is a quiet dignity in owning your cracks, in saying, yes, I have been through things, and here I am. It's not about romanticizing pain or turning suffering into a badge of honor. It's about choosing to live honestly with ourselves and with others. When we stop trying to fix our pain like it's a glitch in the system and instead acknowledge it as part of the human experience, we become less afraid of ourselves, less ashamed of our truth. We begin to soften around our own edges, and in doing so, we become more capable of offering grace to others. It can be easy to look around and assume that everyone else has it together, that their lives are smooth, their hearts untouched. Social media doesn't help. It gives us the highlight reels of other people's lives and asks us to compare them to the behind the scenes of our own. But no one escapes pain. No one walks through life without being marked by it. The difference is whether we choose to hide those marks or live with them openly. And living openly doesn't mean being defined by our pain. It means refusing to live in fear of it. It means choosing truth over image, healing over hiding. Wholeness is not something you achieve once you've healed enough. It's something you claim now in the middle of the mess. It's found in how you speak to yourself when you're struggling, in how you show up even when you feel small, in how you keep going even when it's hard. It's found in your laughter after the tears, in your choice to hope again, in your ability to stand up with your wounds still visible. Your cracks do not make you unworthy. They make you real. And being real is what makes connection, healing, and growth possible in the first place. You don't have to become someone else to be whole. You don't need to be perfect or pain-free or always strong. You just need to be willing to show up as you are, cracks and all. Because the truth is you are already whole, not in spite of the pain you've endured, but because of the way you've carried it. The way you've stayed soft in a hard world, the way you've kept your heart open when it would have been easier to shut it down. Wholeness is not a destination. It's a decision to stop running from yourself and to meet yourself exactly as you are with compassion and truth. So if today you feel broken, if you feel like you've come undone, like something essential in you has shattered, please know this, you are not alone. Pain is not a sign of weakness. Struggle is not a personal failure. You are not too much. You are not too far gone. You are human, and being human is messy, complicated, and achingly beautiful. You don't have to be okay to be worthy of love. You don't need to be fixed to be seen. What you feel is real. The heaviness, the numbness, the ache, it all matters. And even if you can't see it right now, even if the light feels impossibly far away, your story is not over. This chapter may be filled with grief, but it's not the end of the book. If you're carrying shame, name it. Even if your voice shakes, even if you only whisper it into the pages of a journal or to the quiet ear of a trusted friend, shame cannot survive empathy. It cannot survive being spoken. And you deserve to feel the freedom of being known in your truth, not your performance. If your healing feels slow, non-linear, like a loop that keeps bringing you back to the same hurt, take heart. That is how healing works. It's not a straight line. It's a dance, a returning, a deeper knowing of yourself. Every step counts, even the backward ones. And if you're trying to do this alone, I gently remind you, you don't have to. You were never meant to carry it all by yourself. Reach for someone. Let them sit with you. Let them witness your struggle without trying to fix it. We heal in connection, in the sacred space between one heart and another. Finally, remember you are already whole. Not once you've erased the pain or tied up every loose end, but now here with the cracks still visible. Your wholeness includes your scars, your tenderness, your strength, your softness. It includes the days you can't get out of bed and the days you dance again. All of it is you. All of it belongs. You are not broken beyond repair. You are becoming bravely, beautifully, messily becoming. And that, my friend, is more than enough.